Hey family, my name is Chris, I am your home gamer dad, and this is going to be a breakdown of Power Rangers Time Force, all 6 members of that team as they appear in Power Rangers Heroes of the Grid. For this, I'll be going through each one of the Rangers individually, showing you how their decks break down, what power cards they have in order to bring to the table in terms of battles, their special abilities, their Zords, all kinds of cool stuff like that. And anything that I have to say involving a combo will always deal within the Ranger team itself. I'm not going to start talking about other Rangers that appear in Heroes of the Grid and how they would combo off of them, because I want to leave that to you. I want you to go out there and tell me, what do you think you would combine with, any one of the Time Force Rangers here to form a great combo in order to be able to take down the foot soldiers or the monsters or even the bosses. So that I want to hear from you guys, how you would extend this to the other Rangers and, the Power Rangers here, the Grid game, whereas I'm just focusing solely on Power Rangers Time Force. In order to get all 6 Rangers, you are going to need 2 different expansions from the Power Rangers Heroes of the Grid game. Wes, Lucas, Katie, Trip, and Eric are all found in the Power Rangers Time Force Team Pack, which was just recently released at this video. But in order to get Jen here, the Pink Ranger, you're going to need the Shatter Grid Big Box expansion. This was actually released way back when Power Rangers Heroes of the Grid was new. It was part of the original Kickstarter, so she's been around for a lot longer than these guys, so you have to do this weird time warpy thing in order to bring the whole team together. And you know what? It shows, and it's really cool the way that they did it. And now let's go. Racing to another time. Chronomorphers are online. Timeless Wonder, Fire and Thunder, off to save the world. It's time for Power Rangers Time Force.
Ready? Ready! Time for Time Force! Time Force! Wow! You weren't telling me the truth! Amazing!
Awesome!
Yeah!
Let's do it.
First, we're going to start with Jen Scott's Time Force Pink, leader of the Time Force Rangers and the only Pink Ranger as a team leader as of yet in the Power Ranger history. She is a cold, strict, no-nonsense leader, but does have a sensitive side to her. Very rarely shown, mostly shown towards Wes at certain times, but overall she's a very trustworthy person and a very capable leader. Her special ability, Contingency. At the start of each battle, you may choose 2 enemy cards of the same type, that would be Foot Soldier, Monster, or Boss, and swap their positions in the combat sequence. This does not take away the fast ability. If a fast card appears in any one of the enemy lines, the Rangers will lose their first turn. What this is good for is moving cards away from each other that may possibly be guarding another one, or putting a passive in the beginning to actually give Rangers that extra turn, or a variety of different things where maybe you don't want certain monster or foot soldier cards touching each other, but it can only happen to one of those 3. You cannot move a foot soldier card and a monster card. Her deck breakdown goes as follows. Energy cost-wise, she has 0 X energies, 4-0, 4-1, a 2, and a 3 energy card in her deck. Type-wise, she has 8 attacks, 0 maneuvers, and 2 reactions. And her shields follow a standard 3-4-3 lineup, which is 3 1 shields, 4 2 shields, and 3 3 shield cards. First card we're going to look at is Warp Vector. It's a 0 cost 2 dice attack card that reads, choose 1 card from your discard pile and place it on top of your deck. Warp Vector is a 3 shield, so if you have a Warp Vector in your discard pile, it'd be pretty good to actually put that on top, so this way you can prepare for any incoming attack at all. Plus, a 0 2 dice attack is never a bad thing. Her next card, Overclock, is also 0 cost and a 2 dice attack. This one is discard another card from your hand and then gain 1 energy for each shield on that card. There are 2 Warp Vectors in her deck. There's also 2 Overclocks. If you happen to have both Warp Vectors in your deck, you could show that off for the Overclock ability, gain 3 energy, and then on Jen's next turn, play your other Warp Vector, putting the one that you put on the discard pile into your deck right on top, preparing for an attack. So a lot of Jen's cards work within her own 10-card deck in order to be able to kind of set her own future, if you would, and she can predict and know what's coming up down the line. Next, we're going to move on to Covering Fire, a 1 energy cost reaction card. This is her only reaction card in the deck. There are 2 of these that you would find in the deck. Play this card when another ranger plays a maneuver. Roll 2 dice and deal that much damage to an enemy card of your choice. So this specifically calls out maneuver cards. So whenever a ranger plays a maneuver, no matter what it is, you can then play Covering Fire by paying the energy cost and do 2 dice worth of damage to a card of your choice. In a standard of what most pink rangers do in Heroes of the Grid, she is the pinger with this case, whereas something happens and then she's able to take pot shots at another enemy just off of her turn or off of another player's turn or something along that ways. So a 2 dice attack, as shown with the other cards, could actually work out pretty well if you need something to have like 1 or 2 damage before it finally is destroyed. Next is her Chrono Sword ability. All the Time Rangers have a Chrono Sword to them, and hers is called Chrono Saber, a 1 energy 3 dice attack, and if this attack defeats the target, gain 2 energy. Just another ability for Jen in order to put energy into the pool. That's more cards in there in order to be able to build that up. There are 2 of these as well in the deck, so that's multiple chances for you to be able to add energy. And being a 3 dice attack, it increases your chances of attacking weaker enemies and defeating them, thus building up that shared pool. It does cost an energy, but it very well could gain you that energy plus some back. And what does all that energy go for? Well, it goes for her specialty weapon, the V5 Blaster, the unique power weapon for Jen within the deck. There's only 1 of these cards in it. It is a 3 energy cost, as the normal power weapons are. It is a 4 dice attack, and before rolling, add 1 dice to this attack for each energy remaining in the share pool. So using Chrono Saber or using Overclock, increases the energy in the shared pool. So then when you play the V5 Blaster, after you pay the 3, any remaining energy just keeps adding it to it. So it really overpowers this blaster. This is, of course, a single target technique, so you have to follow all the guard rules unless you have something to avoid it, but could be enough to knock out one of those super strong monster or boss techniques fairly early in the game or right when you need it. Last card in her deck is the standard issue sidearm for all the Time Rangers. This is the Chrono Blaster, a 2 energy attack that deals 3 straight damage, no rolling necessary, and the damage may be divided from this attack among any number of enemies, again, following the guard rule. So every Time Ranger will have the Chrono Blaster. I'm going to go over this a little bit more when I show the other ones, but this is something that will appear in all of them. There's 1 of these in it, so it's a really good card in order to guarantee yourself some easy damage on 1 card, but if you have multiple cards that need a little bit more in order to be defeated, these Chrono Blasters are perfect for knocking them out. And finally, her Zord, Time Flyer 5. Exhaust this card to allow a ranger of your choice to play a card in a battle taking place in another location as though they were in that battle. Great way to bring in a ranger who has quite a number of powerful cards in their hands that happen to be in a different section of the board. This does work with any ranger anywhere on the board, and for that 1 attack, so you have to be the ranger's turn, and it does take the place of whatever ranger would be going at that point. You would tap Time Flyer 5, and that 1 ranger on another set of the board would just jump in and do something. Great way in order to play a maneuver from another ranger in order to be able to power up an existing role or whatever. Or if a ranger has a reaction card, you can tap this, bring them in, add the reaction card to whatever that other ranger is doing. It's basically playing as if that ranger is in the battle for that 1 particular attack. So very good card to have here, especially if you're in a pinch and there's another ranger who's just dying to jump in to do something powerful. Next up is Wes Collins, Time Force Red. He's the co-leader of the Time Force team, who happens to be an ancestor of the original Red Ranger, Alex Drake, from the year 3000. So really, the original Red Ranger would be Wes, and Alex would be 1 later, but Alex was around when it was first created, so time travel's weird. Wes's DNA matches the Morpher, and thus he was able to become the Red Time Force Ranger in the modern times when the Time Force Rangers came back in time in order to find Ransack. His special ability, Willful Strength. Once per battle, when any ranger plays an attack card, you may reveal an attack card with the same energy cost from your hand. Treat the played card as having the attack value of the revealed card if neither attack is special. 2 big things here. It A, has to have the same energy cost, so 0 for 0, 1 for 1, etc., etc., and then neither have to have an attack value of special. There are no special cards in the Time Force Rangers, but in other versions and other Rangers, you'll see attack, colon, and then the word special appear. Neither of those cards could have the word special in it. As far as his deck breakdown goes, cost-wise, there are 0 X energy cards, 6 0 energy, 2 1, a 2 energy, and a 3 energy. Type-wise, he has 8 attacks and 2 maneuvers, whereas Jen had 0 maneuvers, 2 reactions. He has 2 maneuvers and 0 reactions. And of course, his shields are the standard 3-4-3 breakdown, 3-1-4-2, and 3-3 shields. Starting off with Wes's cards, we have Brazen Strike, a 0-cost 3-dice attack card that reads, after you resolve this attack, draw 1 card. This is not optional. There is no meta there. You have to draw a card after you play Brazen Strike, which you may think to yourself is not a bad thing. You put more cards in your hand, you're able to do more. However, you got to remember that in Heroes of the Grid, the cards are your life. The more cards you have in your deck, the more life you have and the more hits you can take. So by drawing a card, you're in effect taking it away from you. Now, there are plenty of cards to put cards back into your deck and from your discard pile out, but that is something that needs to be taken into consideration when playing Brazen Strike. Next, we'll look at Precise Shot, a 0-cost attack card that is roll 1 dice and does 1 guaranteed damage. Plus, you ignore the guard keyword when choosing an attack. This is amazing because ignoring the guard keyword is very helpful when trying to get those cards that are being guarded by those Pexy cards, because usually those are the most dangerous that you want to take care of. So playing this gets around that. In addition, you can use Wes's ability in order to power this card up, because it says when any Ranger plays the card, Precise Shot is 0, Brazen Strike is 0, so you can reveal a Brazen Strike from your hand and do a 3-dice attack rather than 1 dice and 1 damage, and ignore the guard keyword. Very nice how it plays off of each other that way, or if somebody else plays a 0, you can always show Precise Strike using Wes's ability to guarantee 1 damage wherever it's going. But written on the card, the ignore keyword does not carry over. Playing into Wes's ability to help his fellow teammates by powering up their attacks, we have Pay It Forward, a 0-cost maneuver card. Gain 1 energy, it's an immediate thing that happens, and then another Ranger may immediately play an attack card, so not him, it has to be another Ranger. Treat that card's attack value as 3 dice if it's not special. Again, as I mentioned before, attack cannot have colon special after it. It has to have either dice or guarantee attack. And what you would do is you would erase whatever it says after that and replace that with a 3-dice attack. Helpful if an attack only has 1 dice or something like that, then he can power it up to 3. Or you just want to kind of mitigate, other things that maybe the card does. Next, his Chrono Sword ability, Chrono Break, a 1-cost attack that does 3 guaranteed damage, so no dice rolling again. And if this attack defeats the target, discard the top card of your deck and then place this card on top of your deck instead of discarding it. Yeah, I don't mind that ability. It's interesting, especially if you're able to draw, so you have something that does guaranteed 3 damage. Then you could play like Brazen Strike, which would then draw this back into your hand. So it's a way that they play off of each other. Chrono Break does only have 1 shield, so you have to be able to survive an attack in order to be able to, have another Ranger hit it or something like that. So to be able to draw this. So it's kind of a play that you have to know what you're doing and plan your moves out before you play this. It also doesn't have the word may in it, so you have to discard the top card of your deck and place this on there instead of discarding it. So keep that in mind as well. Next, we have his power weapon, the V1 Blaster, 3 energy, 6 dice attack, which is powerful, super powerful. Any Ranger may discard 1 attack card from their hand with an energy cost of 1 or 0, so you got a lot of options there. This card gains the ability text of that card. So it doesn't gain the attack, it gains the ability written on it. And it does say any Ranger. So Wes could in fact discard Precise Shot and completely ignore guard for this entire 6 dice attack, knocking out a massive card that's being guarded. There are other abilities out there that you can discard in order to be able to give it all different types of attributes, but a 6 dice attack with that power is absolutely insane and well worth the 3 energy. And of course, he has his Chrono Blaster, the standard issue sidearm for all the Time Force Rangers. You know what it does, standard 3 attack may be divided among any number of targets. What I do want to point out though is that when Jen was released in Shattered Grin, which was like 2 years before this came out, she has her standard picture of her aiming the Chrono Blaster and firing it. What I love about Time Force is all they did was they took Jen's hand, slightly rotated it, and recolored it to make it unique for each one of the Rangers deck. Normally a sidearm is the exact same picture repeated for all of the Rangers within that team. Here, for example, with Wes, it's a cut and re-angled hand and then colored red, so this way it can go into his deck. Very nicely done, Renegade design team. Very, very nicely done. And then finally we have his Zord card, Time Flyer 1. Exhaust this card during any Ranger turn in battle. Instead of playing a card, any Ranger may discard 1 card to perform an attack with 4 dice. You may not have any attack cards, you may not have any good attack cards on you, so playing Time Flyer 1 gives you the ability to discard any card from your hand. Maybe you want to discard it to send it to the discard pile for another combo that you want to pull off later, and in exchange you get a 4 dice attack, which is absolutely amazing. The more dice you roll, the better chances you have of really knocking out things. And then this can also be enhanced as things go on. So another Ranger could react to it and play a guard card, ignore guard card, or add more dice to the attack, or whatever. So nice card here to give a powerful attack, especially if the Rangers need it when no one else has anything powerful enough to knock out a monster card or a boss card. Next up is Lucas Kendall, Time Force Blue. A vain race car driver that is the, quote, cool guy in the group. If there's one thing that he loves more than race cars, it's his own appearance and good looks, and he is a bit cocky and arrogant when it comes to being on the team. Honestly, out of all the Time Force Rangers, he's the most forgettable for me. Good Ranger, maybe not that great of a human character, but he does have an interesting redemption arc as the season goes on. However, in Heroes of the Grid, he is pretty dang cool. His ability, Flexibility. Once per battle, when any Ranger reveals a card for defense, you may choose a card from your hand. Treat the revealed card as having the shield value as the chosen card. So Wes is able to kind of manipulate other characters' attack powers. Lucas can manipulate their defense powers. So if somebody shows up 1 shield when they're getting hit by a 2 attack, he can use Flexibility, show a 3 card in his hand, and immediately knock out that attack, and the card goes to the bottom of the deck rather than get discarded, jumping in and protecting his fellow Rangers at a moment's notice. As far as deck breakdown, he has 0 X energy cost cards, 6/0, 2/1, a 2 energy, and a 3 energy. His attack types are 6 attacks, 2 maneuvers, and 2 reactions. So he loses 2 attacks compared to Wes and Jen and gains 2 of each maneuver and reaction. And his shields are 3/4/3, standard fare as usual. I do love the art on Stylish Strike here. It's him fixing his hair as he's knocking out the foot soldier here. Really plays into his character type within the show. So you got here a 0 energy cost, 2 dice attack card. If there are more cards in your hand than in your discard pile, add 1 dice to this attack. So you want to play this early, you want to draw up to your maximum 5, and then if your discard pile is not going to have anything in it, this becomes a 3 dice 0 cost attack, which is just freaking great to have right in the beginning of the game, especially if you're just going after some foot soldiers and everything, clearing out an area. 3 dice attack should be enough in order to knock out at least one of them, giving the Rangers an extra turn and moving your way toward Zords. Moving on to Keep Your Cool, a 0 cost reaction card. He has 2 of these in his deck. Play this card when any Ranger reveals a card for defense. Add 2 shields to that card. If that card gets discarded for defense, gain 1 energy. So you got kind of 2 different ways that this will work here. You can use this in conjunction with his ability in order to add even more shields to a card in order to keep it from going into the discard pile. But if a Ranger is taking 3 damage, they show 1, you can play Keep Your Cool. It does still go to the discard pile, but the Ranger doesn't take any further damage, and you gain an energy. So it's kind of a multifaceted ability here in order to be able to either gain energy or keep a Ranger alive for further turns in the battle. Next is his maneuver card. Switch it up. 2 of these in the deck as well. 0 cost maneuver, as I said, any Ranger may shuffle their hand into their deck, then draw any number of cards. That Ranger may then immediately play 1 card. I think this would be great. Well, 1, it's any Ranger, so he can do it to himself after he plays it. But if you had like 4 or 5 cards in your hand and your deck is running low, it'd be great to just kind of shuffle all that in, maybe get 6 or 7 cards in your deck, draw 2, because you can draw and keep drawing until you're satisfied. And if you happen to grab an early attack, within the first 2, use that, and then the rest are there for defense. So it's kind of like a breathe in and everything here. Let's switch attacks and everything. Let's switch things up so you can take a breather and get back into the fight. Very, very, very useful card. I can see me playing this quite a lot. Lucas's Chrono Sword ability, the Chrono Thrust, a 1 energy 3 dice attack. If this attack defeats the target, the next time any ranger reveals a card for defense during this battle, add 1 shield to that card. Again, more defense. Lucas is all about giving other people defense, and the Chronos, as you've been probably seeing, are all about if you defeat an enemy using this ability, something good happens. Always want to make sure to use these cards when an enemy is really close to dying, or you can almost guarantee they're dead, in order to trigger their special effects. And for something like Lucas, be able to give that extra shield out to somebody later on. You just have to remember it, because it's, during this battle, add 1. The next time any ranger reveals a card for defense, it's the ranger's turn here. When he plays this, you got to remember it for the next monster or foot soldier turn. His power weapon, V2 Blaster, a 3 energy cost 4 dice attack. Reveal 1 card from your hand. For each shield on that card, add 1 die to this attack. Of course, you can show a 3 shield as well in order to make this a 7 dice attack, but it can go anywhere from 5 to 7 in that case. Definitely want to play this in conjunction with other things to ignore guard or maybe spread damage or whatever. Or if you just want him to hit a very powerful card, which most of these V2s do, or V Blasters do, a single target superpower attack, that's not a bad call, especially if you reveal 3 shields. And then just to show off his Chrono Blaster, as I have before, everyone knows what it does, but as you see, his hand is blue in this one because it is Lucas's Chrono Blaster. And of course, lastly, his Zord, Time Flyer 2. Exhaust this card during a battle to gain 1 energy. Any ranger may swap their hand with their deck. If they do, they must shuffle their deck. So pretty much it's kind of the same thing as Switch It Up, where it's like you swap your hand with their deck. But this is like a full-on, like anything that's in your deck goes to your hand, anything that's in your hand goes to your deck. So this is best used when you have like 1 card in your deck, but you may have 5 in your hand, because then one would come to your hand and all 5 would go down to your deck. It's a good way to keep a ranger back in the game, or if they know there's something good coming up, that there's not really good things in their hand, or if there's a lot of 3 shields in their hand, a quick swap like that. Maybe not the most useful in my opinion from certain things, but one that could really keep, again, a ranger in the game, which is really Lucas's whole MO. Next is Time Force Green, Trip, a native of planet Zebria. I think that's how you pronounce that. I didn't really look it up to find out, so cross fingers. Trip has a green gem embedded in his forehead and has the ability to read minds, pinpoint locations, and see the future in some instances. An awesome character. He's basically the brains and inventor of the team, and he is joined by Circuit, the robot owl, which I love how they put him with the character on the figure. Circuit is basically their Alpha 5, a robot that helps them locate and defeat villains. Using that crystal on his head, Trip has future vision. Once per battle, you may look at the top card of an enemy deck. You may swap the card with a non-passive enemy card from the same deck that has not yet been resolved in the combat sequence. Then shuffle that enemy deck. So if you see a very strong card on the field that's not passive and you want to get rid of it, you reveal the top card of whatever deck that is, whether that be a foot soldier's deck or a monster deck or a boss deck, and you would swap the particular card in the sequence with the top card from that deck. It's just, again, another way of swinging things to the ranger's favor by getting rid of powerful cards or cards that are going to cause more havoc than anything else, and kind of bringing it back to them. Deck breakdown, Trip has 0 X energy costs in his deck, 4 0 energy, 4 1 energy, 1 2, and 1 3 energy. He has 6 attacks, 2 maneuver, and 2 reactions. And of course, the 3-4-3 shield breakdown. He also has 2 cards in the deck that give him special defense powers that I'll show when I go into the cards. Which we might as well just start showing that off right now. 0 energy, ambiguous warning. This is a reaction card in his deck. Play this card at the start of a battle. Shuffle this card into another ranger's deck. This adds this card to their deck and gives them the ability to not only have a 3 shield card, but when this card is revealed for defense, gain 1 energy. Now, I have a problem with this only because I like to put the different color ranger backings on my cards So if this is shuffled into the Red Ranger's deck, it's not going to really help too much because I'm going to know where it is within, the deck and possibly play off that way. But you know what? This is all about Trip being able to predict the future and anything. So if he knows he's going to be able to help you during attack, I'd say it kind of fits his character very well. There's also 2 of these in the deck, so stack them into a Ranger's deck, gain a lot of energy, have a lot of defense. Going into his inventor side, the Electro Booster, a weapon created by Trip in the show. We have a 0-cost 2-dice attack card. If the target of this attack drains energy, add 2 dice to this attack. So there are going to be enemy cards that say drain X energy. If the card that you are targeting with this has that on it, then you're making this a 4-dice attack instead of a 2, because it's using the energy the enemy used to drain to come back and power up the Electro Booster. Very, very crafty here, and is also showing how Circuit also appears on his cards rather than just on the figure itself. Next, moving on to Brainstorm, a very cool picture of Circuit and Trip without his helmet. 1 energy cost maneuver, so this is his maneuver in the deck. Reveal the top card of any Ranger deck, gain an amount of energy equal to the number of shields shown on that card. Another Ranger may then immediately play 1 card with an energy cost of 0. So again, you're going to be building up your decks with the other Rangers, with Jen throwing stuff on top, Wes kind of maneuvering around, possibly Lucas doing things. So you're going to know what Ranger has a possible 3 or even 2 shield card on top of their deck. You play Brainstorm in order to gain that energy back. It costs 1, but at least maybe you'll gain 1 or 2 extra energy. And then they're able to play a card that is a 0 cost. It has to be 0 cost in order to play. If that Ranger does not have a 0 cost, then you just gain the energy, and unfortunately that is the end of the Ranger's turn. So this requires a lot of talking and a lot of coordination with your fellow Rangers to get the most out of it. Chrono ability, Chrono Trigger, great game by the way. 1 cost, 1 dice, and 1 guaranteed hit attack. If this card defeats the target, any Ranger may take the top card from the discard pile and place it on the top or bottom of their deck. So it's only 1 card that would go on the top or bottom of the deck. It's not a very strong attack, but you'll be able to use maybe Wes's ability in order to power it up and give it maybe 3 dice or something like that, because it is a 1 energy. So you'd have to reveal something with 1 energy to make it stronger. And then, again, bringing maybe a Ranger back in, throwing something on top. You know a big hit's coming, put a strong shield on top of that Ranger, or maybe ambiguous warning. You can put that on top as well to not only gain energy, but also gain a good defense. So very nice here. Again, a lot of strategy involved with Trip's deck because you need to plan out every card before you play what's in your hand. Trip's power weapon, the V3 Blaster, a 3 energy, 3 dice, and guaranteed 3 hit. Holy jeez, that's powerful. You remove any number of dice from this attack before rolling. For each die removed, any Ranger may take the top card from their discard pile and place it on the bottom of their deck. Kind of a way of cycling through their deck, because if they know something's on top that they don't like, they can shift it to the bottom. This will have the ability to, let's see, for each dice removed, so you can do this up to 3 times for Trip, or you can use Wes's ability to make this, use his 6 dice V ability to make this 6 dice, so you can do it 6 times. But then again, having that 3 guaranteed damage is never a bad thing, because that doesn't require any dice rolling, and it's just an immediate hit. So really depends on how your luck of the dice are going, and then of course, swapping out cards from Ranger's deck to see maybe something better. If they know something's not good on top, they put it to the bottom. Or if they know they're about to die, put the 3 card on the bottom and just always have that to make sure the Ranger stays in the game. Chrono Blaster, we know it, we've seen it. His hand's colored green, which is really awesome. Again, I love that little feature for this where each Ranger has their own unique card for it, even if it's just recoloring. But standard issue sidearm for the Time Force Rangers. And finally, his Zord card, Time Flyer 3. I apologize for the way this looks. My printer had a weird time trying to scan this one. Exhaust this card at the start of a battle. Swap the positions of any number of foot soldier cards in the combat sequence. You take those foot soldiers, you move them around in any way you want to be able to get the exact order that you want to face them in. So this way, if it's a powerful card, you move it to the end. If it's a passive card, move it to the front to get more moves. Push guards away. It doesn't matter. You can make them any way you want with Time Flyer 3, but remember, it is only foot soldier cards. Katie Walker, Time Force Yellow, has an unnatural gift of superhuman strength, which most likely happened through genetic engineering. She's basically the total opposite of Jen when it comes to showing emotions. She's very bubbly, she's very open with her feelings, and she loves her family very much. And with her superhuman strength, she will protect them at all costs. Her special ability, Heavy Force. Once per battle, when any Ranger gains energy, you may reduce the amount gained by up to 2 energy. Then deal an equal amount of damage to an enemy card of your choice. So if a ranger is gaining 2 or 3 energy in one shot, you can reduce that down, so less energy you gain, but that gives you 2 free hits in order to do against an enemy of your choice. Again, following the guard thing. Unless it says ignoring guard, you have to follow guard. Her deck breakdown: 0x energy cards, 4 0 energy, 4 1 energy, a 2 and a 3 energy card, 6 attacks, 2 maneuvers, and 2 reactions, and the 3-4-3 standard shield division in her deck. I know there are cards that will avoid guard because of the way that they're worded and everything, but it's really weird sometimes and kind of a thin line in order to cross. So I just say, unless it says ignore guard, I can't ignore guard, but I know that there's other ways to get around it. In any event, let's go ahead and go with her first card, Ground and Pound, a 0 cost 2 dice attack. If the target of this attack has already been resolved, add 1 dice to this attack. I think I've seen something close to this with Vesper from Hyperforce Black, very, very similar to this. It may be the same ability, it may not be, I quite don't remember because it's been so long since I played that. But resolved card would be an enemy that has already acted, so the card has turned sideways. So if you target a card that is turned sideways, instead of a 2 dice attack, it's a 3 dice attack, increasing your chances of knocking it out, which again will either add to the experience board or is another card out of a monster or boss deck, which is always a very helpful thing. Next is Competitive Strength, a 0 cost reaction card. So you got her reaction card right here. Play this card when another ranger performs an attack. Roll 3 dice. The attacking ranger may ignore their roll and use yours instead. This specifically calls out rolling. So I would use this, at least in my opinion, you can tell me if I'm wrong, if you have something like a 1 dice, 1 damage attack like Wes does, where you would do Competitive Strength and see what she rolls with 3 dice and replace her 3 dice with his 1 dice. That's how I'm reading it. It doesn't say anything in terms of like the full attack. It's ignore their roll and use yours instead. So that's how I would play this, and that's how I would absolutely roll with it in order to make sure Katie can go in there and use her strength to really power up a move. Next, for 1 energy, you can play All or Nothing. Her maneuver in her deck, gain 3 energy. You can use her power again to her special power, to gain some a special attack from that as well. Another ranger may immediately play 1 card. Remove all energy from the shared energy pool at the end of turn. So All or Nothing is a powerful thing where it's like you could throw 3 energy into the pool and then another ranger could play their powerful power weapon because that may be all that's there. This is also in the shared pool, so any energy that the rangers have on their cards will stay on their cards. You could also use her ability to gain extra attack, and then if there's more energy in there, have another ranger play their power move. There's so many different ways that you can manipulate this power to use all the energy in the shared pool before the final ability on this is triggered, where it's just completely drained, that this could be something to wipe out multiple enemy cards, multiple boss cards, and just really, really turn the tides in the ranger's favor. Her Chrono Sword ability, Chrono Cross, another really good game by the way. 1 energy, 3 dice attack. If this attack defeats an enemy card with the guard keyword, deal 1 damage to an enemy card of your choice. So you want to target guards with this. You want to be able to knock a guard card out using this ability. 3 dice may not do it. You may need to mitigate that a little bit in order to power it up or have somebody weaken a card in order to do it. But hey, getting that additional damage somewhere else is never a bad thing, especially, I don't know how many times I've played a game where a card only needed 1 more attack in order to knock it out, and this card would fulfill that nicely. Power weapon time, V4 Blaster, 3 energy, 4 dice attack. Gain 1 energy, you remove any number of dice from this attack before rolling to increase the amount of energy gained by the same number. So, in a sense, it could be, a free attack by just removing energy and like gaining it back or whatever, but then you're reducing your dice. I don't know if you'll be able to use Wes's ability, like if I remove all 4 dice and gain 4 energy back and then he goes, hey, look at me, I'm a 6 dice. I think you would need to do that beforehand. So this would be 6 dice and you would remove energy from that. So it's a weird way in terms of like how things play in what order. I'm pretty sure the reactions would play before the actual attack goes off. So there's different ways in order to increase dice on this to gain back the energy you spent in order to play this, but still have a really powerful single target attack on your hand to, again, knock out something strong on the board. Chrono Blaster, as per usual, the standard ability, her hand's colored yellow. You can still see some like shades of pink around where they go a little bit misted here and there, but even still really cool. She got her own Chrono Blaster. It matches a little bit better than all the other ones because of her yellow color. And yeah, standard is her sidearm as usual. Finally, Time Flyer 4. Exhaust this card during a battle. You may spend up to 2 energy. For each energy spent, deal 2 damage to a different energy card. So that's up to 2 energy, each energy doing 2 damage. So you target 2 different cards, and you could then remove 2 energy from the shared pool, and or spend it, whatever, how it's written, and then each one of those cards would have 2 damage dealt to it. You may only need 1. You may use this for a quick ping at the very end of a round because it just comes back because it exhausts and then they get back to being used at the end of the round. So it's very cool to have, at any time you may need it in a pinch at the end or maybe in the middle to just knock out a particular card or weaken something a little bit more for another ranger to come in to attack. So Time Flyer 4 definitely has the strength needed in order to be able to destroy cards or make things a little bit easier for the other rangers, as Katie, herself absolutely wants to do.
Quantum power! I'll handle this myself.
Last, we have the 6th ranger of the team, Eric Myers, the Quantum Ranger. A soldier from the Silver Guardians in Wes's time, which is modern time. They actually went to school together. Eric grew up poor and had to work extra hard to get where he wanted to in life. He also resented Wes because he felt that Wes's upbringing, being rich and everything, things came much easier to him. After learning Wes was the Red Ranger, he sought out his own power and found the Quantum Morpher, basically to become more powerful than Wes and show him, your money means nothing, I am still better than you. So yeah, Eric has a little bit of an ego to him, but he does learn to control that as the season goes on. His special ability, Quantum Power, and this is his main gimmick for all of his cards. At the start of each battle, roll 2 dice and place one of them on this card. This is your Quantum Dice. Once during each of your attacks, you may swap 1 dice from your attack with your Quantum Dice. The swap dice becomes your new Quantum Dice. So you're going to roll 2 dice, you're going to take whichever result you want and put it on this card, and that will affect other cards in his deck. Speaking of his deck, his cost breakdown is 0 X energy cost. He has 5 0 energy, 4 1, no 2 energy costs, and 1 3 energy costs. He has 7 attack cards in his deck, 2 maneuvers, and 1 reaction. And then, of course, the standard 3-4-3 shield breakdown, as you would see in pretty much all of the Rangers. Few exceptions here and there. Starting with the Silver Guardian card, there's only 1 of these in his deck, so keep that in mind. This is a 0-cost reaction card. Play this card when any Ranger suffers damage. Reduce the damage by an amount equal to double the damage result of your Quantum Dice. You may then return 1 card from your discard pile to your hand. So there's a lot going on here. For 1, you're reducing damage equal to double the damage shown on your Quantum Dice. So if you're showing 2, then you're reducing the damage by 4. If you're showing 1, you're reducing the damage by 2. If it's 0, it's 0. After that all happens, you can then take 1 card from your discard pile and bring it back to your hand. You can't use Silver Guardian because it hasn't hit the discard pile yet, technically, because it's still in active play. So it's a good thing as a Silver Guardian to jump up and defend people, and Eric is one that is very much like, I can do this, leave it to me. So he's just going to jump in there and take the hit, or reduce the damage in this case, for whoever's taking a shot. Be pretty good for him if it was for, protecting Wes. Next, we have the Solo Shot, a 0 energy 2 dice attack card. If you're the only player with a Ranger in this location, add 1 dice to this attack. This means that Eric is good by himself. There are Rangers out there that play better by themselves because things like this are, good for that case. So this becomes a 3 dice attack. And his Quantum Dice is another thing that really plays better with his own cards rather than doing anything else. Can't really use the Silver Guardian's ability because it's for another Ranger, but that's at least why there's 1 in the deck. So unfortunately, if you're playing, a solo attack with Eric, Silver Guardians in your hand isn't very good, but things like Solo Shot really come into play because it does add more damage and a greater chance of Eric basically wiping the floor with whatever he's going for as a solo Ranger. He does have another 0-cost card in his deck, but I'm going to move over to Focus Strike for right now. It is a 1 energy 2 dice attack card. After rolling, you may revert 1 miss result to a single damage result, or convert 1 single attack to a double attack result. So that's how it is on the dice, is I show either a 0, a 1, or a 2 hit. And when you play this, and after you roll, you can then spin up any one dice by 1 level. So make a miss a hit, or a hit a double hit. This works pretty well because then you can swap out your quantum dice with maybe something else. Swap out a 2 hit to make something a little bit more powerful in order to defeat a monster. Or if you have a 0 as your quantum dice, swap it out for a better dice that you've rolled, thus increasing your chances of do better damage later. I also like Focus Strike because it matches with Wes's card Brazen Strike, because as you can see here with them next to each other, Eric is going one way attacking a monster, and Wes is going another. So as much as Eric really doesn't like Wes, he does work well with him, and I think they do become pretty good friends eventually. Like, he learns to like see past his ways and past his jealousy and envy and whatnot, and learns that Wes is a really good guy, and actually he is a good guy. Next, quantum abilities for the Quantum Ranger. Quantum Trigger, a 0-cost maneuver card. Gain an amount of energy equal to the attack results of your quantum dice. Reroll your quantum dice and draw up to 2 cards. You may then immediately play 1 additional card. Again, a lot to unpack here. First, you're going to gain energy equal to whatever your quantum dice is, whether it be 1, 2, heck, you may even not even gain anything, but this does enable you to re-roll that quantum dice, hopefully getting a better ability. Then you draw up to 2 cards, which means you don't have to draw. I can up to 0. I won't draw a card, or I can draw 1, or I can draw 2. So that's a good thing there. And finally, you may play 1 additional card. So maybe I'd want to draw something else to gain another attack, and then play it immediately. So he's resetting his quantum dice, gaining energy, gaining more power, and then immediately attacking again. For a 0 energy cost, this is a powerful card. Next quantum ability, Quantum Cut, a 1 energy 2 dice attack. Before rolling, add a number of dice to this attack equal to the damage result of your quantum dice. Then re-roll your quantum dice. So you can add 1, maybe 2 dice to this attack, increasing its power, but then you're going to be re-rolling that quantum dice, possibly getting a better result, possibly not getting a good result. So then it matters if you want to swap it out at any time, using the ability to recharge it up or whatever. So there's a lot of possibilities in terms of damage output with Eric and his quantum abilities, because you could just kind of swap things around continuously and just be like, nope, that's a 2 damage, or no, I'm going to put that away and only take 1 and only do a little bit of damage, because if you only need 1 or 2 hits on something, why overkill it when you just swap it out and have a stronger quantum dice? So you're always going to have to pay attention to the quantum dice while doing all of Eric's attacks. And lastly, his power weapon, the Quantum Defender, a 3 dice attack that costs 3 energy. After you resolve this attack, deal the damage result of your quantum type to each enemy card adjacent to this target. Now, I think that does bypass guard. That is one of those writings on there that I mentioned, like with Katie, that's kind of like a weird thing, because it's splash damage. So if you're attacking a guard card, then this hits both cards on the side. There are other Ranger cards in previous sets that have kind of the same thing, and I think that bypasses guard because of just the way that it affects. Let me know in the comments below what you think, but again, that's how I read it and that's how I interpret it. Still a very good card. And of course, where would Eric be without his Quantosaurus Rex? God, I hate that name so much. Exhaust this card during a battle, roll 2 dice and place them on this card. So that'd be both dice. When any Ranger performs an attack, they may swap any rolled dice with dice from this card. At the end of the battle, remove all dice from this card. So basically, Quantosaurus comes in and becomes Quantum Dice 2 for any Ranger on the field, and you can swap things around as you go. Very, very nicely done in that situation where this big T-Rex thing comes in and just obliterates stuff. I have yet to see this in action, but from what I've heard, it is very powerful and very useful, especially when it's like you're maybe having bad dice rolls and Quantosaurus has some strong stuff on it. Just do some swapping out, and man, does this card come in and really save the day. And finally, we're going to look at the Specialty Zord and the Megazord for Time Force. Let's start with the Shadow Winger, where any Ranger may call this as their Zord. So you would replace it with maybe another Ranger Zord that you may not like or don't really enjoy how to use or whatever. You swap that with the Shadow Winger. And what the Shadow Winger does is exhaust this card at any time, Swap the positions of any two Rangers in the outer location, so they can't be in the command center or center point in order to use the Shadow Winger. Why is this awesome? Because you could be in the middle of a battle and an allied Ranger could be about dead. They could have like one card left in their pile and there's no way of defending against it. You use the Shadow Winger and boom, they swap places with somebody else at another part on the board, thus maybe refreshing the battle, giving the Rangers a chance to win, and giving that Ranger who's possibly dying a chance to get to the command center or use refresh actions or something in order to bring them back into the fight. There are so many applications by the Shadow Wingers, way better than some of the other Zords that I've read today, that I can't wait to start using that and seeing exactly what else I can do. But just off the top of my head, I know I can do that. And finally, the big boy, Time Force Megazord. Exhaust this card to place the Megazord token in any location. At the start of each battle in that location, choose the fast or guard keyword. Rangers may ignore the chosen keyword until the end of battle. You are basically getting rid of a keyword completely. And what I love about this is that the token itself has two sides, showing mode red and mode blue, which was the same thing. All the time flyers could combine together, actually in 3 different formations. There's one where they were all connected together as one giant ship, 4 if you count them each as individual ships, and then they combine together to form Megazord Mode Red, which is mostly a powerhouse Megazord, or they reconfigure to Mode Blue, which is more of a speed one. It doesn't tell you which side that you want to use, but in my brain, I'm like, of course I would show Mode Blue if I'm choosing the fast keyword, or Mode Red for the guard. Probably get more use out of guard than fast, but hey, there may be like 1 or 2 guard cards that mean nothing, but a fast card that you can completely negate and give the Rangers that first turn is huge when going up against bosses, because you can start knocking out any of their powerful cards and possibly start ticking them away little by little and then beating them and, of course, winning the game. And that's what we all love to do, is win these games. And there you have it, the Time Force Rangers. Let me know what you thought of them down in the comments below. Let me know your combos, as I said in the earlier part of this video, what you would mix and match with these guys in order to be able to gain, you know, whatever advantage you can think of, or any cool combos you can think to like put together and everything. Do you like using one over the other? Do you think they're balanced? Or do you think that they could have been better? What would you have possibly done differently for, you know, particular Rangers and everything? There's so many different things that you can do with this, but I really, really like this team. I think that they have some great synergy together. And as I'm reading through the cards, look at them, you know, the brain is turning and everything and thinking about what else I can combine them with, or who else I should say, in order to create a very powerful team and then be able to save the world from whatever monster and boss and whatever is coming in to threaten it. Thank you all so much for watching. I look forward to hearing what you think about Time Force Rangers down in the comment below. Let me know what you think of this series and if you want to see more Rangers and who you want to see. There's a ton of teams out and everything like that. Maybe one day I'll do a playthrough of Power Rangers using Time Force or using anything like that, and doing the solo rules. Haven't quite figured that out yet. But hey, you know, I want to hear from you and all your great suggestions and your words of wisdom and all things like that. But first and foremost, thank you so much for watching. You know, be sure to subscribe to the Home Gamer Guide so you don't miss anything else coming out, whether it be Power Ranger related or anything like that. Please take care of yourselves and each other. We are family forever, gaming together in the world of Power Rangers and beyond. Thank you guys so much. Enjoy. Have a good one. It's time for Time Force.